Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is October 12th. Happy 60th year anniversary to the Columbus Day storm, the greatest mid-latitude cyclone to ever impact the lower 48 states in recorded history anyway. I'll be doing a windstorm video just on that storm by itself as I start to go over the Pacific Northwest greatest windstorms in a few videos coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Looking at the infrared satellite now, you can see the ridging already building here across Pacific Northwest. It'll be with us at least through the weekend coming up. You see that cold air sliding east of the Rockies. We did get clipped by that. That's why you feel that chill in the atmosphere overnight and through the morning hours for today and probably the next couple of days also. You can see the cold air spilling down over the Pacific Ocean here. Some of the extended models do have troughing eventually setting up across Pacific Northwest. We'll continue to monitor that, and we'll go over some of those possibilities as we get closer to the event. Now, looking here, visible satellite imagery, look at all the forest fire smoke. The Cedar Creek fire is pumping out here. It's going to be impacting Southwest Oregon again here over the next few days, as we'll be dealing with some light winds and some diurnal and nocturnal wind variations. You can see some of the forest fire smoke from the Cascades already sliding down into the Puget Sound. That should start to affect the central and southern Puget Sound as we go for the next few days as well. So enjoy that clean air if you're still in it, because the forest fire smoke is probably coming back, folks. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news there. Checking out my house, you can see we had some moderate air quality. It was fairly unhealthy conditions there for a few days, and we got some really nice air quality yesterday, and so far today we're still doing quite well here through the central sound, but that will be changing here at least over the day today and on in through tomorrow. Now, taking a look here, you can see not many low clouds around the area, just some high clouds moving off to the east. And as we go through tomorrow morning, though, the fog will return, looks like for much of the Puget Sound, maybe southern Oregon coast here. Burns off by around noon for most areas, and you can see some of the fog really return on the morning, Friday morning, for the Washington, Oregon coast, some of the Puget Sound as well. Not much showing up for the Willamette Valley there or eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. Going on in through Saturday, we're actually going to increase the offshore flow a bit here, so we might cut down the low clouds, but you can see some of them forming through the Strait of Georgia and through the Puget Sound here as well along the Washington, Oregon coast also. So typical foggy morning and nice afternoon pattern coming up here. You see SeaTac 68 yesterday, a little bit above the average high of 62, nowhere near the record high of 1991. But we may get towards some of these record highs as we go on in through later this week and through the weekend. We'll continue to monitor that. There's some low-hanging fruit out here on the 16th, 72. We may get that all-time daily record high that was set back in 2018. Look at Portland here, a little bit above average, nowhere near their record high, but they are going to warm up again here near the end of the week. Maybe they'll break one of these record high temperatures set back in 2015 or 2002 as we go towards Friday and Saturday there. Looking at Spokane, another good graphic out there just talking about the week outlook. Some nice warm highs and some chilly overnight lows here. Light winds, mostly sunny and dry. Now, taking a look here, you can see this easterly component that exists for the morning hours today. That'll switch up a little bit and start to push some of that smoke down the sound. Then we're going to do it again on in through Thursday morning. A little bit of a northeast component here. Then as the interior heats up a bit, we get kind of that northwest component down the sound. So we're probably going to be kicking the smoke around, swirling it around the Puget Sound, southwest Oregon as well, with that Cedar Creek fire really pumping out some smoke. And again, Friday morning, the same thing. But look, as we go towards Saturday morning, the offshore flow actually increases here, and you can see it really ripping through the gorge pretty good here, coming across the Oregon Cascades all the way out towards the Pacific Ocean here. So yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news there, but we're probably going to be dealing with forest fire smoke again through southwest BC, western Washington, western Oregon. Now, taking a look here, European on the left, Canadian on the right. Look at the big ridge here. This is yesterday afternoon's run. Not much to talk about in the next few days except for the big ridge and fog formation potentially at the surface. And you can see this trough start to approach from the west here as this ridge kicks off to the east a little bit. You see a little bit of troughing approaching the coastline here. The European has us a little bit closer here to the Pacific Northwest versus the Canadian ridge a little bit closer here. As we go on into the future a little more, another ridge forms up through British Columbia and Alberta here on the Canadian, but look at the differences that start to emerge here. The European's been showing this like polar lobe retrograding back over the Pacific Northwest here. And this is a pretty stark difference between the Canadian on the right and the European on the left. I mean, it doesn't get much more different than that as we go through the extended forecast here. Now, taking a look at the European ensemble run here, let's go ahead and play this out. This is yesterday afternoon's run. There goes that ridge, and then the slight troughing approaches early next week, but very weak system, if anything, ridge tries to rebuild, but then you can see pretty good ensemble agreement on the European here, this trough developing here over the Pacific Northwest. So good signal there for cool weather lovers and some precipitation. But again, this is pretty far out there. You're getting over 10 days at this point. We really got to be careful with this kind of signal. We'll continue to monitor this as we go. Checking out the precipitation. Here's the control run of the European on the left. Here's the GFS deterministic on the right. Let's see what it shows. You can see for the next several days, no precipitation really expected. There's the very weak system that European's been showing here, sliding through early next week. Maybe a little bit of precip. GFS not really showing that, as you can see. I mean, look at Southeast Alaska and Southern Coast. They're just stealing all the rainfall. Again, as a storm track just aimed right at them. Now watch things start to change to get towards the 22nd. Look at some pretty heavy amounts. That's actually significant rainfalls across the Cascades, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia on the European. But pretty good signal on both the GFS and the European through the extended. Makes sense, right? We're going into fall here and we're starting to go into later October. But pretty good signal here for precipitation returning here to the Pacific Northwest through the extended forecast. But this is still a ways out. I mean, if you're looking here, when does this arrive? This is, 10 days? You're looking 10 days out now. So we got to take that with a grain of salt. We'll continue to monitor these trends as we get closer. Now, here we go in towards later this week, actually. This is Friday morning, 15Z. You can see the ridge plainly over the area here. Now check this out again. Big inversion, 10,000, 5,000 feet, very warm, but much cooler along the surface here as we get radiative cooling overnight here, so the heat just escapes to the atmosphere. And you can see when you get dew points in the mid 40s, calm winds, you're dealing with probably some foggy locations here. Let's close that out and let's go ahead and pull a sounding here through. Let's bring that back to Friday morning. Let's pull a sounding for Portland, for example. And you can see similar, but a little bit warmer here. The inversion is not as dramatic here. It is still a pretty good inversion here. Calm winds, but a little bit warmer here. Shouldn't be as much fog down towards Willamette Valley, for example. Now, if we look out here towards Spokane on Friday morning, a little bit of an inversion, but just not as much moisture, so much less likely for fog there, even though we're dealing with light winds, as you can see. So look at Rogue Valley, Medford, Oregon here. You can see the potential cool down coming maybe early next week, and then the big troughing way out here, October 21st and beyond. But you can see the really warm days, chilly overnight lows as we go through the next few days here in towards the weekend. Seattle, Tacoma, our latest 80-degree day is the 14th of October, 1961. Maybe we'll hit 80 on the weekend and set our latest 80-degree day ever here for Seattle. We'll continue to monitor that as it looks like things cool down to be more seasonable after the 17th of October here. But again, you saw the Canadian was showing still some ridging around here, but you can see the impact as we get closer to that troughing out through the extended forecast there. Here's Portland, nice warm days up through the weekend here, and then potentially cooling down to much more seasonable temperatures here, maybe even some below average through the extended. We'll continue to watch that. Of course, we're getting way far out in fantasy land there. Missoula showing the potential pattern change to the extended as well. Boise, same thing. You guys getting the gist there. Seattle, Tacoma, look at this signal for precip in the European once you get past the 22nd of October. Pretty good totals showing up here. A couple 24-hour periods with close to an inch of rain at SeaTac. There would be more in the mountains. So an interesting signal there worth watching. The European has been showing it for a while. So there is a little bit of confidence to that at this point. So here we're taking a look at the total precipitation ensemble spread for the GFS, also showing that pickup in precipitation once you get past the 22nd to 23rd of October. Still under 2 inches, generally on the control of the mean by the end of October, but not a bad signal and pretty similar to what the European is showing also. Now, taking a look here, you want to really get the hype machine going. Check out the snowfall totals here for Stevens Pass coming up here, as it's showing some measurable snowfall falling after the 21st, 22nd of October. We'll continue to watch this. This is still fantasy land here, but it is an interesting signal showing up here. Some pretty chilly air would move in with the trough of the nature on the European showing here. So we'll continue to watch that. Something to get you a little excited. Maybe the first snowfall for the Cascades coming up here. Taking a look here at Crater Lake, Klamath Falls Regional Airport. So this is for Klamath Falls. After the 21st, 22nd, you see that precipitation signal starting to emerge here. Same thing for Boise. Same thing for Missoula also. So fingers crossed, some relief may be on the way here in the 10-plus day period. But again, 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, we still should be generally above average for that period, October 19th through 25th. But you can see they're starting to hedge the bets towards that troughing setting up across the west coast of North America here. As you can see, that above average signal includes the Pacific Northwest. Now, taking a look here, let's back this up a little bit. This is the European, 925 millibars, 2,500 feet. This is the equator right here. Now, we're talking about La Nina conditions here. This is Mexico and Hawaii. You can see this burst of easterlies coming across the Pacific Ocean here, meaning the Madden-Julian oscillation is off over the maritime continent here. So as we put this into motion here, you can see that burst move off further to the west, holding that Madden-Julian oscillation back over there. But look, as we get towards the extended here, you can see these westerly anomalies may be showing a sign of the Madden-Julian oscillation moving out into the Western Pacific a little bit. And what that would do is change where the energy transfer is coming from. We start to introduce some energy here versus out further to the west. We may change that Rossby wave stream formation downstream and allow the ridging to be off the shore further and allow that troughing over the Pacific Northwest. So taking a look here, you can see it on the GFS phase diagram. You can see the Madden-Julian oscillation get a little more active and start to move over phase 6 and 7, which is what I was showing you on the previous slide there. So you can see that it does get more active as well. And that's probably has something to do with the pattern change potential coming up for the Pacific Northwest. Now, what that would do is it would move this convection out over this region here, and maybe would start to introduce that energy flow a little bit further to the east versus where it's coming up from now. So that troughing maybe will kick further off to the east as well and include the Pacific Northwest. Again, an inexact science, the Madden-Julian oscillation, still a lot of research being done on it, a lot of work to be done over the next few decades. But again, that does kind of correlate with the pattern change potential over the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, I mean, enjoy this weekend coming up here. If you're not going to be in the forest fire smoke, you're probably going to be dealing with some nice warm temperatures, clear skies, and very nice weather through the weekend here. Unless you're a rain lover or a vampire here in the Pacific Northwest, you're probably going to like these conditions coming through the weekend here. But again, we'll continue to watch for a very weak system, maybe approaching the coast through early next week here, but it does look very weak here. Then the potential for a big pattern change exists in the 10+ day range, but that is still technically fantasy at this point, but the signal is there on the GFS and the European here. So we'll continue to watch that as we go through the extended. It's something to kind of get excited about a little bit here. So anyway, click like and subscribe. Hope you guys are having a good day. Thanks to all my members signing up. You guys are making this channel possible. Thanks for everybody watching, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.